What's up, True Crime World? You're listening to Luminal on the Wall. I'm Becky.
And I'm Bevy. And today's case is about a young boy who stays home due to a stomach flu, but later goes missing under the careful or not so careful watch of his stepmother. Who was the cause of his disappearance? Was it a stranger, or was evil lurking closer to home? This is the case of Gannon Stauch. Listener's discretion is advised.
Well, hello to everyone, our true crime family and friends.
Hey guys.
How are ya? How you doing? How's life? And hey, Bev.
Hey sister.
How's it going?
Good. Classic. I'm sick. Classic. School hasn't even been started for like 2 weeks.
It's like a week and
sick
2
twice
days
already. So
she's sickly.
I'm fighting off a sickly illness, and I sound a little bit clogged up.
It's because she is.
At the moment, so bear with me.
Bear with her. She sounds
Hopefully
kind of
I
cute.
don't sound so silly.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Good.
So overall, you're doing not that well.
Yeah, and I would ask you how you're doing, but I don't care.
Wow.
I've been in a sassy mood. I've been messing with Becky
For like the
since
last
I
2
got here.
hours.
But I can stop for the sake of your sanity.
Oh, how kind of you, Bevy.
Yeah.
Thank you so very, very much.
I can be kind when I want to be, you know? It's like a gift. I'm just kidding.
So being like a psychopath is a gift.
It's like my baseline.
Fabulous.
No, I'm just kidding. So today's case is like sad. It's sad.
That's like, it's just sad.
They're all fucking sad.
They're all sad.
You
What are we
kidding
talking
me?
about?
But we'll get into it by talking about a marriage gone wrong, because it kind of gives us the baseline to the family that we're going to be discussing. So Al and Gannon Stauch had been married for 10 years. They were living in South Carolina prior to their relationship deteriorating, which eventually led them to separate in 2011. And within those 10 years of being together, they had 2 children, Gannon and Lena. Gannon Stauch was born on September 29th of 2008. He was born and classified as a micro-preemie. Holy crap. This sounds bad, but like...
You know what she's thinking of? A micro weenie.
I was going to say a micro-peenie. Like, they're all like, yeah, I'm a sick fuck. I don't know what to say.
She just apologizes to the whole world.
For like my nasty mind, but yeah, we're talking about a tiny, tiny baby.
And like,
So,
you know, we think preemie, what, like 5-6 pounds?
no.
This one,
Well, yeah,
like,
we do, but Gannon was born weighing 1 pound, 6 ounces.
like micro.
Micro preemie. Star. And he was only given about a 10% chance to live. But he beat the odds, and his little sister Lena was born 3 years later. Gannon was affectionately known as G-Man, and he was a kind-hearted, sensitive boy who never caused trouble. He loved video games and animals, and it was said that he was always looking out for others. Now, despite Al and Landon separating, they had a strong co-parenting arrangement. Landon had the kids during the week, and Al had them on the weekends. Now, to be clear, Al is the father, and Landon is the mother. I say that only because if you're anything like me, I've only known Landon boys. I've never heard it be like a gender-neutral name.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Just to be clear.
Now, things in the co-parenting arrangement took a significant shift when Al married his longtime acquaintance named Letecia in January of 2015. Letecia came with her own teenage daughter, Harley. After marrying Letecia, Al eventually filed for full custody of Gannon and Lena, and he got it. This was because Landon was pregnant and was having major health complications, making the pregnancy high risk. So at the time, it was in their children's best interest to be with Al full time. I could definitely see that. Was it like a temporary granting of full custody?
I have no idea if it was temporary, but I think it was just easier at the time. I don't know if it was going to be long term, but everyone seemed to be okay with the arrangement.
Okay, cool. So Landon was like, this is definitely the best.
Yeah.
I could imagine with a high risk pregnancy.
Like some women are like bedridden
Yeah.
for a lot of their pregnancy. Imagine
Totally.
having 2 young children that need attention. They have so much
Care.
energy, care. It's just too much for a pregnant woman dealing with like high risk pregnancy.
Yeah. No, I
It's too
totally
much.
understand that. It was, then it's pretty nice of Val to take that on full time.
And thank God they have 2 parents that they can do that with, where it's like, yeah, you can look after them more while I'm dealing with my shit.
Yeah, like they're still looking out for each other.
Yeah, like it's
Yeah.
great.
That is great. So now with Al having full custody of Gannon and Lena, he moved his new family to Myrtle Beach before being relocated to Alaska, which was a place that Letecia despised. And she refused to move with Al. She stayed behind in Myrtle Beach with the children.
I would move to Alaska.
I would move to Alaska too, Becky.
I mean,
But what's even like can we talk about the fact that now Letecia, I know she's been with Al, but she is not one of the biological parents of these children.
yeah, now she's their caregiver.
Full time.
That must have been challenging.
Yeah, and it strained their marriage, which like no doubt, right?
Yeah, and also being like so far apart.
Yeah, that would be really tough. That's like
It's
you're
a
being a
single
single
parent.
parent to 3 children.
2 are not yours either.
Yeah. No,
Not
I
that
think
that should
would-
matter.
No, but it would add complications.
Yes, it would.
I mean, like, it'd be easier to resent a partner for, I don't know, not like, I want to say this in quotations because I don't necessarily think this is what he did, but like, quote unquote, dropping 2 children on you as opposed to being like, I birthed these are my choices. Like, I have to raise them and look out for them because, like, they're mine. It's just a little bit of a different, like, flip in your mind. So I think it would cause strain on that relationship if you ever resented that partner for like the work you were doing. Like if they were your children, you could resent no one but yourself. But you know what I mean? Like
it's someone else's.
You have someone to place that resentment on.
But at the same
At the same time, yeah.
Wow. At the same time, though, like she chose just not to move to Alaska. I can assume if she would have gone, all the children would have too.
Yeah, I'm curious to know, like...
So it's like, did she just kind of bring it on herself? And then he's like, well,
why did the children go with him to Alaska? I just wonder.
We're going to learn a bit more about his job. So I think it's
see.
probably the type of job so that if she didn't move, it probably wasn't
feasible
the best
for
decision.
him to like, take care of the 2 kids. Okay. So this type of scenario takes place for a couple years. And in 2019, the entire family then moves to Colorado Springs after Al requests a reassignment because apparently Letecia said that 2 of the men on Al's unit at work had sexually harassed her. And this caused him a lot of problems at work. And on top of this, he wanted his family to be happier. So this ended up being a positive move for everyone, especially Letecia. Was this an actual case of sexual harassment?
I wondered that myself.
Just because, the relationship is strained. She's looking after 3 children.
Well,
like, is it something that she did to, like, get her family back together almost to kind of push him, like, Al into high gear and make that final decision? Or
I mean, it could be. I mean, without spoiling the whole entire podcast,
yeah,
down the road, you can see how kind of manipulative she is and what kind of person she really is. So is it out of the question that she did that?
to manipulate the situation? Not really.
Who knows, right? But either way, I think it is for the best of everyone, including the children specifically.
Totally,
that
they get to be with
they're
their
all-
dad.
yeah.
And, okay, so yeah.
And Colorado, Bev. Isn't that like the dream? I feel like it's a warmer version of Alberta.
Yeah, I feel like Colorado would be a nice place to live.
Seems like a freaking cool place.
Yeah, no doubt. Never been there, but I don't know if you're from Colorado. Let us know. Do you like living there? Is it cool?
I already know the answer. It's yes. But please reach out and confirm my suspicions.
Becky's convinced. So they're now living there. And Al, just because of the nature of his job, still had some traveling to do for work. And on the week of January 27th, 2020, Al was in Oklahoma for National Guard training. And on the 27th, Letecia texted Al saying that Gannon was going to stay home from school because his stomach was bothering him and he didn't want to have an accident in front of his classmates. She then informed the school, And Al kind of found this weird because Gannon's stomach issues usually showed up in the form of constipation, not the other way around, like vomiting or what have you.
Diarrhea, Bev.
Yeah,
That's
well,
what I think
that
she's
too.
taken. But
as Letecia was saying.
No, keep in mind he did have complications like somewhat regularly, and this was from when he was a micro preemie.
Right.
So
okay, that makes sense.
It was kind of something that lingered with him through his life, but it didn't seem to affect him too negatively overall.
Yeah, like it never prevented him from going to school before. In fact, he usually had perfect attendance certificates. So coincidentally, that same morning, Letecia had texted the principal of the school where she was working at 4:36 a.m. explaining she wouldn't be in that day because her stepfather had been hit by a car and killed. However, she failed to mention this to Al. And then at 6:55 p.m. that evening, Letecia Stauch called 911 and reported her 11-year-old stepson, Gannon Stauch, missing. Letecia said the last time she saw Gannon was at 3:15 p.m. that afternoon. Letecia claimed he had left their home in Colorado Springs to visit a nearby friend. Which, what the fuck?
He stayed home from school sick.
Yeah.
Remember when we were little? It would always happen, even like whether we were really sick or faking sick, mostly faking. We would stay home, watch our Maury, Jerry Springer.
In elementary school, what were we doing?
Sometimes the Montel Williams show, but
we wonder how we got here.
Yeah. There's the answer, yep. And then all of a sudden your friend would like call after and be like, hey, you want to do this? And you're like, Mommy, please, can I? And she's like, I thought you were sick. And you're like, but I'm feeling so much better now. And she's like, no, you're not going out if you were sick all day. Sorry. She probably knew we were faking it. Now that I'm like, because wouldn't she be happy that we're just feeling better? No, she knew the whole time.
If my kid was sick, I'd be like, no. Like, you
miss
stay
school,
home.
you stay home, get better.
Yeah.
Get your rest, eat your freaking soup.
Yeah. Eat your
watch
crackers,
a movie.
Have your yogurt if you can stomach it. Anyways, so this is already kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
I think let's point out 1, not telling your husband that your stepdad died. Sketchy. 2, letting your stepson leave the home to go visit a friend after he stayed home from school complaining of stomach aches all day.
Who does that?
Who does that?
Also, I do want to point out that her call to her work, Letecia's, about her stepdad, was not true.
Well, really? Wow.
I mean, you didn't say it, Bev.
Well, I have no confirmation yet, but like we pointed out how weird it was. She didn't tell Al. It's like you would definitely tell your husband that if it was true.
I would assume so. But just to be clear, in case anyone did not catch on to that.
That was a freaking lie.
She lied to her work.
Yeah. So, and that's like an extreme lie too. It's not just like, hey,
my kid broke his leg.
I gotta take it. Even that's extreme. Like, hey, my kid has a stomach flu. I gotta stay home with him all day or something.
Yeah, why not just tell the truth?
Yeah, super weird. So anyways, when Gannon hadn't returned home later in the evening, Letecia reported him missing.
Welcome to Spattered Podcast, where some stains never wash away. From the shadows of unsolved mysteries to the dark secrets that left more than just a trace, step into the world of crime and mystery where each drop, each spatter holds a clue. Follow us as we connect the dots, piecing together tales of betrayal and violence in a pursuit for justice. This isn't just another podcast. It's an unflinching deep dive into the evidence that others often fear to examine. Are you ready to see what lies beneath the viscous surface? Join me, Katie, your host, along with revolving co-hosts for Spattered, a true crime podcast. Because the truth is always in the blood.
After telling the police all of this information, the officers had this like looming sense of dread. So they asked her what friend that Gannon went to go see. And of course, Letecia had no idea. She said that her husband, Al, knew all the friends' names and had their phone numbers and whatnot.
Doesn't that seem like just wild? If you're like possibly going to be looking after a child, whether it's yours or not, for any length of time by yourself, wouldn't you at least like ask the kid, hey, whose house are you going to? Oh,
Yeah.
little Johnny's.
No,
or
you would definitely
Karen's.
ask, and you would want to know like the phone number of the child's parents or their house number.
Yeah, like if there's
Yeah.
an emergency, what frickin' good
Are
is
you?
it for your husband to know the numbers who you, Semi, can't get a hold of because of his job?
Yeah, and especially because of the nature of Al's job, it was harder to get a hold of him
Mm-hmm.
in the field with like the urgent need for information about Gannon's friends. So the search for the police was slightly delayed because of that.
Mm-hmm.
But when the neighborhood caught wind that Gannon was missing, they rallied. Neighbors searched the surrounding area on foot while they used their personal drones to scan the nearby fields. They all feared for Gannon's safety. His disappearance quickly escalated into an urgent search that gripped the entire community. Yet, as the hours passed, no one could find a trace of the 11-year-old boy. The following morning, January 28th, the El Paso County Sheriff's Office urged residents to keep an eye out for Gannon, describing his clothing as having blue jeans on, a blue hoodie, and tennis shoes. And with fears mounting, Al and Gannon's biological mother, Landon, now Bullard, makes arrangements to get to Colorado to search for their son. And around 8:50 that morning, Letecia picked up Al from the airport. She was driving a Kia rental car, which Al found really weird because she normally drives a black Volkswagen Tiguan, and she had no real reason to have a rental. But either way, the couple then go to the police station to give a statement. And this is where detectives find out about Gannon staying home from school sick and the candle incident, in quotations, the night before. Letecia claimed Gannon knocked over a candle, causing a fire in their home. Al also tells detectives that Gannon's Nintendo Switch is missing, and they give detectives Gannon's phone. When Leticia's phone is examined, there's an internet search at 12:57 saying, "Can Nintendo find my Switch?"
Yeah,
So
so
that's
just
fucking creepy.
I know. So like almost immediately after this initial interview, she's searching like, like basically does it have GPS?
Yeah, no kidding.
And in case you're wondering, the answer is no.
Interesting. Okay.
They
But
cannot. do
still,
that.
that's messed up. So after this, and later that evening, the detectives ask for Gannon's toothbrush in case they need a DNA comparison. And then the following day, on January 29th, Landon arrived in Colorado to join the 200 volunteers searching for Gannon. The plan was for Landon to stay with the Stauch family for when Gannon came home. Letecia called Al extremely upset that Landon was staying at their home, even though Al reassured her it was purely to comfort Lena. That evening, Letecia and Harley didn't return to the family home. Instead, they stayed with Harley's coworker, Janine Sanchez, which I find just a little bit odd. It seems a little bit jealous and not appropriate for the situation. I mean, Landon's son just went missing.
And her younger daughter is living with Letecia. Like, no shit, she's gonna
And the
stay
father
with
of
you.
her child is your husband. Like, come on.
Like, where's the compassion?
Like, seriously. I just think it's off-putting for someone to react that way given the circumstances.
Hands down. If it was just for like a normal visit, I could be like, really, she couldn't get a hotel room, maybe?
Yeah, no, I would see that. But no, this is like different.
Yeah.
So initially in the investigation, there were leads and possible sightings of Gannon, one being at a come-and-go gas station at Mesa Ridge Parkway. However, hopes were quickly dashed when the boy in question turned out not to be Gannon. So by Thursday, January 30th, just a couple of days after he did go missing, police officially classified Gannon as a missing and endangered child, and Leticia's behavior starts to become more erratic and really starts to raise red flags with the investigators and Al. So that same day, January 30th, Letecia returned home with Harley, after dipping out because of her jealousy.
That's right.
And they are accompanied by her brother, her aunt, and her mother to remove personal belongings from the home. They loaded items into a rented van with police watching closely to see what items they removed. And it was at this point that Letecia and Harley moved back to South Carolina. And before leaving, Letecia also gave a bizarre news interview requesting the camera crew film her from behind doing multiple takes so she could cry on cue. Ew. Just ew.
Just gives you the downright icks.
It does. All the icks, not just one. It's like all of them on so many levels.
Ick. Like, moving in this time, like, what is wrong with her? Like,
it reads guilty, right?
even
Like
if you
she's
weren't,
fleeing.
even if you weren't, like, acting suspicious and weird before and saying weird shit, it's like, this
What are you doing?
Yeah, like what's your motive, Dan? Like, why are you moving? Why are you moving states?
Yeah,
It's fucked.
it is. And her actions left the community baffled. Like, how could she leave at a time like this, right? Like, it's just nuts. Investigators pored over security footage, but no cameras, including the Stauch's family doorbell camera, captured any sign of Gannon around 3:15 p.m. or from that point on, which is weird because he should have been leaving to his friends based on Letecia's testimony, right?
Yeah, and a lot of their neighbors had security cameras too.
So-
Like, it's not like he just evaded all of them.
No, exactly. So it's odd. It's like, okay, well, that's probably not what happened then.
Mm-hmm.
However, what they did see on the cameras was that on the morning of January 27th, the day Gannon was sick, security cameras from the neighborhood captured Letecia and Gannon leaving the house. They went to Dunkin' Donuts and a pet store to get Valentine's outfits for their dogs. In the video, Gannon appears to be really sluggish and not his energetic self. At one point, he drops something and just stares at it, leaving Letecia to pick it up. They then get in the truck and drive away. When they return, Gannon is not seen on the security footage, but that view is slightly off camera. So it's like he might be there, right? Like,
Yeah, like just the door of the car couldn't be seen. So to say that he wasn't there is maybe a exaggeration.
right, because it's not a great angle.
Yeah, you just can't tell.
Now, what they also see is that on January 28th, Leticia's Tiguan, her VW Tiguan, leaves the family's home at 8:13 a.m. She dropped the Tiguan off at the airport parking lot at 8:30 and then rents the Kia and goes to pick up Al at the airport for 8:50. Now, police know that Letecia is becoming more suspicious by the day and that they need to get their hands on that Tiguan. Did she not think it would be suspicious that she also all of a sudden has a rental car? I don't know.
Like from her husband, the police. You know, some
Yeah.
people initially speculated that she did that, got a rental car so that the police could go check the Tiguan, but that was not the case.
No, it's
They-
at the airport.
yeah.
Like, hiding out.
It's not like they just went and searched it there or went and picked it up. No, it just stayed there. Just
Ugh.
stayed there.
That's discerning.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, that's not the right word. This is disconcerting. Discerning is like,
I'm like, mm-hmm.
yeah, the other thing.
I knew what you meant.
I made a whoopsie. So anyways, as police continue to scour the Stauch home, a luminol substance revealed evidence of violence. Bloodstains were all over the walls, Gannon's mattress, the carpet, and concrete floor, leading investigators to suspect something terrible had happened in his bedroom. The luminol also lit up in the garage and on the tailgate of the truck. So now they have evidence of violence, I shall say. So they bring Letecia in for questioning. And she spins a tangled web of stories. But can we expect anything different from her at this point, really?
No, that's a
No.
hard no.
That's just what she's got right now. She offered various versions of what happened to Gannon, each one more outrageous than the last. In one version, she claimed Gannon had injured his foot in the garage on Saturday, sitting on the back of the truck while she bandaged him. Al also confronted his wife specifically about a pool of blood found under Gannon's bed, but she just dismissed it. She suggested that Gannon had frequent nosebleeds. So, after hearing this, Al starts growing increasingly suspicious, and he started recording their conversations from there on out and handed them over to the police. It's at this point that Letecia starts feeling the walls caving in around her, so she released a video that is titled Candle Video, where she interrogated Gannon about the incident, i.e. setting the house on fire, pressuring him to pinky promise he hadn't done it on purpose. The video ends with Gannon whimpering. This caused more controversy in the media and led local super sleuths to look into it further. I mean, I won't lie, I literally did the same thing when I was young, by accident, and it was terrifying.
You did?
Yeah, do you not remember, like, in the living room, there was, like, the carpet used to have, like, a black, like, it was, before they were removed. Do you not remember this?
I guess I
I
don't.
used to light paper on fire.
Well, I remember that.
Yeah, like, I thought it was cool, and I was trying to use paper to light other candles.
Yes.
But I didn't know, like, how fast paper burns, right? And then it flakes off, like, on fire sometimes.
It's a little ember.
Yeah, and that's what happened. And then, like, the floor caught on fire. It was burning the carpet. Like,
Jeez.
yeah, I mean, I learned my lesson.
Yeah. No
Paper,
doubt.
no good. to like light other things on fire.
Not
It's
a
not
good,
good.
It's not a good
And if like
fire transfer.
this incident was like how she says it was, like he knocked a candle over, like heaven fucking forbid, you know?
Yeah, he's 11. Like, come on. What's interesting is these super sleuths,
Yeah.
they kind of cleaned up the video because it's like how she said is she accidentally recorded her and Gannon
Oh. Okay.
on her cell phone. So it's a really like, it's just like, it doesn't show anything really. You
Uh-huh.
can just hear the audio. And so these super sleuths said they cleaned it up and said they could hear Gannon in the background saying, like, I'm bleeding or something like that.
No way.
Yeah. However, that was not what was said when they were able to get a longer clip of the video.
Okay.
It actually has Gannon saying, after, like, when they say he's whimpering, after that, it says, I'm just worried about my burns. So he had gotten burned by the fire.
No way.
Yeah. And to what degree we don't know, but he obviously was hurting a bit. And in
That's
fact,
devastating.
some of the blood in the house, like that she's being questioned about, said, oh, it's from his burns. But she never took him to any medical treatment, anything like that. So it's like,
And clearly, like,
if he's bleeding that bad, you should be going to the hospital, you
yeah,
crazy
especially
lady.
from a burn. Like, you don't really, like, it'd have to be a pretty bad burn to, like,
drip blood
drip
like
blood.
that.
Like, that's crazy.
Like, you probably had to lose like 10 layers.
Yeah, no, like, that would be a terrible, terrible burn.
Yeah.
Like,
Some
oh,
would say
God.
maybe a little unrealistic from just a little candle spill.
Yeah, no. And if your kid's saying, I'm just worried about the burns, like, oh, that just hurts my heart. He's
Yeah.
like, she's sitting there, like, pressuring to make sure he hadn't done this on purpose. And he's like, I'm actually hurt.
I'm
Like,
worried about
that's
my
really
burn.
sad.
Yeah. So, and she virtually shows like no empathy.
Right. That's what's
And
most concerning.
At a later date, she also posts a photo of said candle spill, and it looks like wax on the carpet, but it's like a really dark red.
Ooh.
And so some people, people create stuff on the internet, and there's no
Yeah.
real proof of like what.
Like, is it blood?
Yeah, they're like, oh, is the wax just covering blood and you're saying it's wax when it's
Yeah.
blood? It's
People will
whole
make
debate.
yeah, no, and I get why, right?
But
it's like, she's so sketchy already that it's like,
it could be.
it could be.
You're
But
that nuts.
as a kid, this is so weird. We have so much in common with this story, but we had wax on our carpet too that got stuck there, did we not? And it was
Oh,
red,
yeah.
was it?
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's just kind of funny. I mean, not funny. It's just weird that we have like,
You're like, oh, this
I
is
don't know,
somewhat
similar-
familiar.
Like, do all children have candle stories?
Surely. I even have a candle story at my house. Like, I have this cute little like Persian, this red like velvet Persian center, I don't know, like placemat on my table.
Yeah.
When we first moved into our house, Jamie spilt a red candle all over this Persian thing. And it's so pretty, but there was wax in it, and it's like beaded velvet, like it's so intricate with all the like textures.
Yes.
There's wax on it forever. Eventually it just kind of broke off, dried out really well, and
Oh, nice.
it's finally gone, but it took like probably a couple years for it to not look like
Candles are a hazard, man.
the
Candles
wax.
are a hazard. The ones that were just
The
like
fire, the
singular
wax.
stand up that went on the stands, like now they come in like buckets. A little bit
Fantastic.
harder to
Dump.
dump.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny how we all have these, but this one seems a little bit more tragic, I will say.
Yeah, there's a big difference, I guess.
So yeah, Leticia's lies are just spiraling out of control.
Yeah.
Nothing's really making sense.
She's virtually creating like stories to kind of cover new evidence that's being found, right?
Exactly. She's trying to cover her bases. And one of these invented stories was she claimed that there were alleged kidnappings by men named Eduardo and Quincy Brown, which were wanted criminals in the area.
Yeah, like they were real. They were in the news.
Yeah.
But she's trying to blame
She
them.
thinks she's slick.
I
And
pulled
then
a real criminal's name out in my
she
head.
even accused a carpet repairman of sexually assaulting her and taking Gannon. Oh, she's falling back to her default of sexual assault, hey? That's at
Yeah.
least what it seems.
Yeah.
When she says this, it's like, oh, well, maybe she was faking the initial one with, like, people at Al's work, right?
It's hard to say, isn't it? I would hope not.
I would absolutely
Because there's
hope
nothing
not.
to frickin' joke about.
No, we
sexual
shouldn't
assault.
joke about that at all. But when you see a pattern, right, it's hard to
She clearly doesn't
think
have
otherwise.
like the morals to not blame someone for sexual assault when it didn't happen. This carpet repairman, like who was it? They don't know. There was no
It
carpet
was just like a
repairman.
random thing, right?
Yeah. It was just a story she made up. So at least it's not a real person she's blaming, but
Right.
like,
Obviously, her morals are not at the level of just like making shit up to clear her own ass or like to get what she wants.
Yeah.
So, could it be possible that
it could
she's
be.
claiming fake sexual assault? Yes,
It's possible.
totally. Fits the narrative. So, all of these stories are basically Leticia's attempts to mislead investigators. And the truth became clear when detectives got warrants for the GPS on all vehicles associated with Letecia. Now, one trip Letecia had taken on the 28th, showing her traveling just off a highway near the Stauch's home. And when the investigators looked, all they found was a piece of particle board with a blood-like substance on it. When tested and compared with Gannon's toothbrush, it was a match. They knew that he must have been left there at some point. So even without knowing where Gannon was, it is now becoming pretty evident that he was most likely dead and Letecia was responsible for it. And on March 2nd, 2020, after weeks of mounting suspicion and a lack of cooperation, Letecia Stauch was arrested in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and charged with first-degree murder, child abuse resulting in death, and tampering with a deceased human body, among other charges. At that time, Gannon's body had not yet been found, so Letecia waived her rights to an extradition hearing and was taken back to Colorado. On March 4th, while being transported back to Colorado, in Kansas, Letecia somehow got out of her cuffs and grabbed an unopened Monster energy drink and hit the deputy that was traveling in the back seat with her right in the face.
Oh, yeah. And Bev, like her arm, she uses the full leverage. Like she goes behind her head and it's like straight arm overhead, can in hand, and just nails the deputy. It's like quite brutal. However, kudos to that officer because she holds her composure. Like she just got rocked and she grabs onto her and like subdues that monster can. She's like, you are not hitting me again.
Whoa.
But it was like a pretty brutal hit, I have to say.
Yeah, she got ferocious in that moment.
Oh,
she was
God.
like, I feel wronged, you bitch.
How dare you?
Yeah. Well, good for that officer.
Yeah.
The deputy. So good. The following day, Letecia arrived back at Colorado, and to put a cherry on top of her misery, Al files for divorce. Yes, Al.
Yeah, you can't stay with
Good
that.
job, Al.
Criminal.
I'm proud of him because, some people are like, I don't know, they turn a blind eye, but not Al.
I mean, I think he had almost more suspicion before the cops even really did.
Yeah.
With how she was behaving and just,
Yeah, totally. But I'm just like proud of him because I just watched a documentary where the wife of like a serial rapist and murderer like turned a complete blind eye even after knowing what he did, was like, I still love you and I'll love you forever. So, people handle things differently, and I'm liking to appreciate the way Al has done this. Divorce her ass.
Divorce. Don't deserve my love and family.
Absolutely. Now, 12 days later, on March 17th, a bridge inspector in Florida discovered a suitcase under the Escambia River Bridge. Inside was the decomposed body of a young boy wrapped in blankets. The inspector, stunned by the discovery, immediately alerted authorities, and it was confirmed by teeth and DNA to be Gannon Stauch. Investigators soon pieced together that based on GPS, it was Letecia who had dumped Gannon's body off the bridge in the early hours of February 4th. Man, that's like almost like a little over a week after he went missing, hey?
Yeah.
And she was hoping it would be washed away into the Gulf of Mexico.
Well, and joke's on her, Bev. There's absolutely no running water under this bridge.
Ha!
So it's like, did you not look over the bridge at all?
No, probably not, right? Obviously. So it was a failed attempt, a pretty chilling attempt to hide her nasty crime.
For sure.
Now, what's even crazier, and just like really a stroke of luck, is that the bridge investigators only visit the site every 2 years. So it just so happened that on this year, they were there.
At the perfect time. Like, if she had disposed of that body like a month later.
Yeah, exactly.
No one would have been there for 2 years.
It.
And it's such a remote area that most likely no one else would have found him either. And we talk about in some of our other cases about bodies being found later and them being so decomposed that you can't tell how they died.
Yeah, what happened to
all
them.
the evidence that could have been on their bodies gonzo, right?
Yeah.
So fortunately, although he was decomposed, it wasn't so severe, so they were able to tell how he died.
Yeah.
and all the injuries he
Suffered,
Yeah.
really. Yeah, it showed the extent of his suffering, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
like you said, a big stroke of luck.
Yeah. And what that autopsy showed was that Gannon had been stabbed 18 times. He was struck in the head with a blunt object at least 4 times, crushing his skull. And he was shot in the jaw, which severed his spinal cord. His body also contained hydrocodone, which, if you remember back to the security footage of Gannon from the 27th looking like lethargic, it all kind of makes sense.
Yeah. What's interesting is in the autopsy, when the medical examiner eventually, they're going to court, right?
Yeah.
For a trial. The medical examiner says that all those individual stabs
Yeah.
or the accumulative stabs, if he had been left, he would have died from those. They would have been fatal. The head blows.
So it was like complete overkill.
Yeah, like she must have just, didn't want to wait for him to pass away. So she shot him.
Yeah.
To end
She
it
wanted to make
faster.
sure, like, that's just,
Yeah,
it's really evil.
it is. It's 100% evil.
So, an arrest affidavit eventually leaked to the public in early April, which painted a grisly picture of what had happened inside Gannon's room. The bloodstains on the walls, mattress, and carpet pointed to a violent attack, which, of course, we,
No, it
by
was.
his autopsy, know it was, yeah. Letecia had sent her daughter Harley to buy cleaning supplies on the 27th so that Letecia could clean up the scene, but the evidence was undeniable, thanks to luminol. That's why we love it so much, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like evidence of that unseen. I love it.
Like, you don't even know there's a crime could have been committed, and all of a sudden you shine a little black light, spray a little luminol, bam!
There it is.
There it is.
And then later in May 2020, as the case made its way through the courts and the media, even more details emerged. Letecia had attempted to escape from jail. Classic. Sorry, I just have to say classic. The monster can incident. Now this. Either way, it didn't work. She was caught passing notes with an escape plan.
Ah, that's the same as our last podcast, remember?
Yeah.
Thwarted.
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 It's funny because she also wrote officers notes saying that people were threatening her life and hid them in peanut butter. And the jail staff just also noticed that she had increased erratic behavior. All of it seemed like a ploy to build an insanity defense. But the courts saw through her facade, and she was found competent to stand trial in September 2020. And after months of delays and evaluations, Letecia was ruled competent to stand trial. I guess those notes in that peanut butter weren't enough, girl.
Should have been better.
Should have been
Being incompetent.
better. Yeah. Either way, this ruling marked a pivotal moment in the case because it was at this point that Letecia chose to fire her counsel and defend herself, adding another delay to her trial.
Mm-hmm.
The most crazy people defend themselves.
Ted Bundy.
Like, damn.
I know. Like, what are you doing, Letecia?
However, this one's a little different because it all proved to be a little bit too much to her because she eventually hired her original defense team back.
She's like, oh, I bit off more than I can chew.
And her defense team pushed for a mental evaluation. They argued that she was suffering from dissociative identity disorder, trying to suggest that Letecia suffered from significant mental health issues. And this reevaluation led to a huge delay in the courts as there was a backlog of people to be evaluated, but eventually the evaluations found that she understood the nature of the proceedings and did not have any mental issues and could assist in her defense.
You know what's interesting? I read a small little blip from the psychologist that evaluated her. She said that she felt that she was attempting to make it seem that she had multiple personalities by saying, I created this to deal with my childhood trauma. I created this personality to deal with this. And the psychologist basically said, like, if you have this condition,
Yes.
you almost are not even aware.
Right, that you're doing it. It's like not like a conscious thing. I decided to create somebody.
Yeah, so
It's
she
just
felt
like you do.
exactly. So she felt that she was trying really hard to make it seem like she had this.
Yeah, like I'm not the one responsible. This other self of me was. And
Yeah.
I was not aware. Yeah, I definitely don't have any sympathy for her.
No, God, no.
Like, you are a very big coward. You need to take responsibility for what you did. You cannot blame, like,
Eduardo,
your other self.
the carpet man.
Yeah, like, you gotta own what you did.
And keep in mind, what's even worse about her kind of trying to make all these stories and blaming someone else, it's never her. She's never taking accountability, right?
Yeah.
Is that she actually, on top of the stories that we've kind of mentioned that she's created, there was a plethora
More.
of other stories that she created that are just so freaking asinine
Yeah.
that you're like, I don't even care to like write them all down because they're all just so dumb and they get more outrageous as we go.
Yeah.
And in
She's
fact,
trying to throw something at the wall, hoping one of them sticks, right?
yeah, in fact, she said one of her major personalities, Maria Sanchez, actually killed Gannon.
Okay, so she was aware. Like,
Yeah, you don't know that
Ugh.
you don't know that your other personality did that, but she said that it was like her protector and that she was there to protect herself as well as the children in the home, but mistook Gannon for like a demon in a cloak and killed him, but he was standing there on his bed in a blanket. So I'm like, so when the like psychologist or heard that, she's like, "Oh, it sounds like you are Maria Sanchez," and air quotes, like, "Okay, lady,
yeah,
whatever you
can
want to
say,
tell
like,
yourself."
Maria Sanchez saw this. I saw him in a blanket. It's like, wait a second, what? She's like, no, like, she thought demon. I saw blanket. I don't think that happens.
It's not how it works.
Like the fact that she can reason that and be like, oh, like it seems, yeah, no.
illogical,
Yeah.
nonsensical.
Yeah.
And the psychologist, in fact, Bev actually said she displayed more narcissistic
Yeah.
traits than anything else.
Wow.
So, yeah, they didn't think she had any mental disorder and should be held fully responsible.
Good. I'm glad. So obviously with all that ruling on her mental state, any attempt at an insanity defense was diminished. And at her first court appearance, Leticia's behavior was erratic and disturbing. Despite being charged with such heinous crimes, she smiled, smirked, and even rolled her eyes during proceedings, leading many to question her mental state and grasp of reality. Which I'm not sure about that. Like, yeah, sure, maybe it's her mental state and grasp of reality, or it's just like someone who can't accept or take responsibility for what they did. Like, think the whole thing's a fucking joke. Like, everyone's got it wrong. Like, and no way I'm going to be held responsible, and like a complete lack of empathy and remorse.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what it reads to me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's lame.
Yeah.
And from the beginning, Letecia attempted to sow doubt regarding her competence to stand trial, as we know, which failed. But as the trial progressed, the prosecution laid out a mountain of damning evidence against Letecia Stauch. The key pieces of evidence included forensic findings, phone records, and witness testimonies that painted a chilling picture of premeditated murder. And even more evidence suggested that it wasn't actually her mental state that caused her to murder Gannon, because they found searches on her phone that said, and I quote, "I don't like my stepson." And there was also another search that shows a little bit of her resentment towards raising these children and a little bit of sass as well. It read, "Is my husband's ex-wife going to send me a Valentine's card for Valentine's because I raise her kids?" So you can see that
She's a little petty.
she's petty. She doesn't like Gannon, and she's resentful for having to raise him. So it kind of gives a little bit of motive and reason as to why she took his life. Not a valid reason.
No.
But like her reason, nonetheless.
Yeah. And you mix that with the other evidence, and we can see why she's being charged with first-degree murder.
Yeah, you're not mentally ill, you're evil. Furthermore, the GPS data from Leticia's car and cell phone tracked her movements in the days following Gannon's death. It was revealed that she had driven hundreds of miles, including a trip to Florida, where Gannon's remains were eventually found inside a suitcase under a bridge. The GPS records also indicated that Letecia had made suspicious trips to remote areas, possibly to dispose of evidence. Leticia's defense team tried claiming that different personalities had taken over during the time of the crime. The defense also painted Letecia as a deeply troubled woman who had endured a traumatic childhood, which supposedly led to her mental health issues. However, the prosecution team dismantled this argument. The expert witnesses they called, including psychiatrists, found no evidence of DID, as you stated. They argued that Leticia's behavior was more indicative of someone who was calculating, manipulative, and narcissistic rather than mentally ill. After weeks of harrowing testimony and gut-wrenching details, the jury deliberated Leticia's fate. And on May 10th, 2023, Letecia Stauch was found guilty of all charges, including first-degree murder. The courtroom was silent as the verdict was read, but there was a palpable sense of relief that justice had been finally served for Gannon. Letecia was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, a sentence that will ensure she spends the rest of her life behind bars. While no punishment could ever bring Gannon back or fully heal the wounds of his murder left on his family and the community, there was a sense of closure. And in the aftermath of the trial, Gannon's family, especially his mother Landon and father Al, expressed both sorrow and relief. They had fought for justice, and though the pain of losing their son would never fade, they were grateful that Letecia would never have the chance to harm anyone again. Gannon's life and memory became a symbol of resilience, and his story serves as a reminder of the importance of protecting vulnerable children. His family and supporters vowed to continue raising awareness about child abuse and violence in the hope that no other family would have to endure such a tragedy. And though Gannon Stauch's life was tragically cut short, his story, his innocence, and his spirit will continue to live on in the hearts of those who loved him. So, Becky, as we know, this is the case of Gannon Stauch. That's all I have for you. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for sharing.
And just your weekly reminder to download our weekly episodes, follow us on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever streaming platform you listen to us on, and give us a follow on our social medias. You can find us at Luminol on the Wall. Can't wait till next week.